Please welcome Esther Bush, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Urban League of Greater Pittsburgh.
Good morning. How's everybody? It is a pleasure for me to introduce our keynote speaker today. Kathy Humphrey serves as the University of Pittsburgh Senior Vice Chancellor for Engagement, Secretary of the Board of Trustees, and Chancellor Patrick Gallagher's Chief of Staff. In those roles, she oversees Pitt's internal and external relations, focusing on facilitating business engagement, strategic initiatives, and partnerships, and government at all levels. Kathy has earned numerous awards and recognitions throughout her career, including the YWCA Tribute to Women Leadership Award, the Nellie Leadership Award, and distinction as one of the Pittsburgh Courier's 50 Women of Excellence. You notice this trend of leadership and excellence in her awards. She also earned the Pitt African American Alumni Council's Sankofa Award, which honors community members who have offered outstanding educational support to students of African descent at Pitt. Outside the university, Kathy serves on the board of directors of Three Rivers Adoption Council, the Urban League of Greater Pittsburgh, and Leadership Pittsburgh. In 2013, the U.S. Secretary of Transportation appointed Kathy to the Advisory Council for the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. 2 years earlier, she served as a fellow in the International Women's Leadership Foundation. Kathy earned a Bachelor's of Science degree at Central Missouri State University, now the University of Central Missouri, a Master's of Arts degree at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and a doctorate in educational leadership at the St. Louis University. And she maintains a faculty appointment at the School of Education at Pitt. Kathy is an active member of the Macedonia Baptist Church and of Delta Sigma Theta. She has been married to her husband, Lau, for over 30 years, and they are the parents of twin sons, Daniel and David. Now, this last statement I need you to listen to. She could start her own college. Her extended family includes 10 siblings, as well as 86 nieces and nephews. I think she needs to be working on a college campus because she's used to helping kids. Kathy, we love you. Come on up. I wasn't going to say this, but I have to. One day you need to hear Kathy sing. I'm done.
That's not my job today. So it won't be the day. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am excited to see all of you, and I want to thank Esther for that kind introduction. And I want to also thank her for the incredible work that she does through the Urban League with her incredible team. That is a hard-working team, and I want them to know that I am proud of all of the accomplishments that they have achieved. I also would like to thank Tim Stevens for inviting me to be here with you today. I'm honored because as I look into the audience, I see so many people I know. That makes it a little bit easier to stand here. And so the people that I know out there, I expect you to be shaking your head while I'm talking today and supporting me all the way as we begin this work. I'm honored to be here because this is another anniversary for our country. It's an important date in our history. It's important because on June 19th, 1964, Pennsylvania U.S. Senator Joseph Clark and Hughes Scott voted on the legislation which sent the Civil Rights Act to President Lyndon Johnson's desk. Did you know that? Now you do. Shortly after Senator Scott received a letter from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. thanking him for his support, the senator wrote to him and said, "It is my deepest and sincere belief that this law will help make all Americans enjoying the privilege of citizenship." The privilege of citizenship. The Civil Rights Act changed our nation in so many ways and moved the needle forward for so many Americans. And so many Pennsylvanians since then have been on the right side of history. But while we recognize this date for its significance, we know there is still much work to be done. Is that right? That's what I love about being with a lot of my people in the audience. They talk back. Join us, white people, join us. As you know, we have come here today gathered around a conference theme of exploring formulas for success. As I pondered on your theme and the directions I had been given by Tim, I was reminded of a story about a queen who devised a formula for success. Now, it is true that we have our own Queen Esther of Pittsburgh, who has implemented many successful formulas. But allow me to introduce to some and reacquaint others with Queen Esther of Persia, who used a formula of success way back in 479 BC. While Queen Esther was a Persian queen, her birth name was Hadassah, for she was an orphan adopted and renamed Esther to conceal her Jewish identity by her cousin Mordecai. Esther was a passer. At one point in Esther's reign, there was a man by the name of Haman who decided that all the Jews should be killed and their possessions given to the king, and so the decree was sent out and sent forth that all Jews would be killed. When Mordecai found out, he sent a message to Esther to ask the king to save his people. Initially, Esther replied that she could not help. How many times have you replied that you could not help with your actions in addition to your words? But Mordecai reminded her that while she may be up in the king's palace, that she too was a Jew. And maybe she had become queen for a purpose, for a time such as this. So she had to be reminded of who she really was. Sometimes we all must be reminded of who we really are. Is that right? Once Esther understood the danger of inactivity, once she understood her purpose, she quickly devised a formula to save her people. Her plan required her to take risk and to be bold. At one point, she is quoted as saying, "If I perish, I perish," realizing that even her lack of action would not stop her own demise. Our lack of action will not stop our own demise. She implemented her formula, and having the plan alone would do nothing, for her formula had to be used to determine its effectiveness. There's a lot of plans out there. Not only did her plan work, it saved her people and changed the course of history. And today, many Jewish families celebrate Purim because of Esther's formula for success. In examining her formula, we see that she had to remember who she was. For who she was had something to do with the purpose of her life. She had to have more than a vision statement. She had to have more than a plan. She had to have and be courageous and bold to implement her plan. If I had time to tell you the whole story, you would have learned that she was also evaluating her plan as she implemented so that she could revise the plan when needed to ensure that she reached her intended outcomes. We at the University of Pittsburgh are trying to use a similar formula to develop a culture of diversity and inclusion. And Tim has asked me to share how we are implementing our formula. That is my plan for these brief minutes. Now, you should know that we do not proclaim to have it all right, but we are seriously taking steps to get it right. We are seriously taking steps to get it right. What are we taking? Yes, you're still with me. Good. Our formula is based on the same principles as Esther's. We are constantly examining who we are. We are devising plans that we hope will create our new reality, a new picture of who we are. We are implementing our plan by purposeful and strategic actions, and we are measuring our progress to ensure that we become an institution where diversity and inclusion is in the fiber of our existence. One thing, and one of the first things that our new Chancellor, Patrick Gallagher, found when he came to Pitt was while we believed in the value of diversity and inclusion, while we aspired to be a place where diversity and inclusion was an intrinsic value, we needed to do more work in order to be who we wanted to be. The Chancellor, along with his senior leadership team and many others, believed we could do more in our hiring practices, in our decision-making, in our engagement with the community, and so we listened. We listened internally and externally. We listened to students, faculty, alumni, and staff. We also listened to the words coming from our community, from our neighbors, from our minority vendors, and from our own experiences. And we were concerned. We were concerned with what we learned, for what we heard was not what we wanted to be. So we followed Esther's lead and developed a plan that would create our new truth, a plan that we hope would replace our current truth. And when we created our institutional strategic plan, promoting diversity and inclusion became one of our core priorities. James Escuzes and Barry Posner teaches us strong leadership models the way. Strong leadership models the way. Acting on the third element of our formula, implementation, the Chancellor and other senior leaders modeled the way. And we began to fill positions of leadership. Now, there are 10 people of color in senior leadership positions at Pitt. I'm very proud of that fact. Each year, and they're not, you know, these are serious positions. Take a look, serious positions, right? Each year, Pitt chooses a theme to highlight, to learn more about, to explore, and to further enhance our work in. It is an opportunity for our community to pause and reflect on how we can strengthen our committee and our commitment to a specific area. So we decided that this year would be the year of diversity and inclusion. We have held more than 200 events, lectures, and seminars. We have created new programs that will continue to be implemented, and many more new programs are underway. In a few weeks, we will have a special announcement that I believe will be the crown jewel of our year of diversity, so stay tuned. Can't tell you yet. The year of diversity and inclusion has been a wonderful catalyst to our future work. 2 years ago, we created the Office of Diversity and Inclusion and elevated its core value to a university-wide level by naming our first Vice Chancellor for Diversity and Inclusion. We redesigned our affirmative action program to be more than a report that we provide to the federal government, to be more than a report that we provide to the federal government, but a report that we use to challenge our various units to become who we want to be. We have encouraged each of our hiring administrators to ensure that all applicant pools are diverse. We are taking a hard look at trailing spouse programs so we can better entice strong applicants to come to Pittsburgh by finding employment opportunities for their spouses. This is an area where you could be helpful to us and we could be helpful to you. And please know that we are open to building that type of relationship with you. If we can get 2 instead of 1, you're better, and I'm better. We have expanded our affinity resource groups to provide additional support to those in our university community who are members of underrepresented groups. We have put the right people in the room to examine the possibility of implementing the ban the box with the hope of eliminating the chilling effect it can have on those who may not apply because the box exists. And we are recruiting students in locations that are more heavily populated with students of color. We are also looking to recruit more students right here in Pittsburgh, right here in our region. We have a new partnership today with the Pittsburgh Public Schools and the Community College of Allegheny County. We are developing programs that will challenge our students to think of themselves as global citizens. And all of our students are asked to take what we call the Pitt Promise of Civility during freshman convocation. The Pitt Promise clearly informs our students how we expect them to treat one another in our community. It clearly speaks to our value of diversity and inclusion. The president of our faculty senate is working with a committee to create Pitt's first diversity inclusion value statement, a statement that we hope will be given to every faculty and every staff member to remind them of who we are. And in the event that something occurs, it will remind them of where we will stand. And we are looking at ways to increase diversity in Pittsburgh by keeping our students here after they graduate. We just launched the Pitt Pathway program, which is a grow your own program. We, along with every university in this city, bring hundreds of students of colors to this city each year. If we can capture just a few of them, we can increase the diversity of Pittsburgh immediately. This is yet another way we could collaborate. For if your company was willing to partner with us to provide students with scholarships that are attached to jobs after graduation, we may be able to quickly reach our goal of making Pittsburgh more diverse. But we have to be serious if we're going to do this work. We took a hard look at the physical diversity and our physical design. And we worked hard to ensure that our campus was accessible to all. And we created a diversity and inclusion certificate program that I recently had the honor to attend the graduation ceremony last week for this year-long program, where we challenge faculty and staff to enhance their knowledge and their commitment to strengthening our culture of diversity and inclusion. This is a year-long commitment that they take to get stronger, to make the institution better. We have created a dashboard to measure our success because we believe that which is measured grows. And we want to see growth in the diversity of our faculty, students, and staff. We want to see growth in the diversity of our mid-managers. We want to see growth in the number of local underrepresented Pittsburghers in our applicant pools and in our employment. For some of these areas, we plan to measure ourselves against other Association of American Universities who have been successful in this area. But our focus goes beyond the campus. We have a goal to increase minority and women vendors. Along with the African American Chamber of Commerce, we have developed programs to introduce underrepresented vendors to our institutional department heads. They are the ones who spend the money. And we have developed programs to help the vendors understand how to do business with the university with the hope that they will be more successful in gaining the bid, in the bid process. Much work is being done, but we are not focusing on building a stronger culture of diversity and inclusion because it's a nice thing to do. We're not focused on building a stronger culture of diversity and inclusion because it's the trendy thing to do. We're not even focusing on building a strong diversity and inclusion culture because if we don't, some of you will be mad at us. We have pledged our commitment to this issue because we know that leveraging our differences make our work and our world even greater. It is simply good business to develop a culture of diversity and inclusion. It's good business. For gaining a diversity, an environment of diversity and inclusion helps us to gain a diverse number of ideas, a diverse number of constructs that will advance our research, that will advance our teaching, that will advance our service. I have shared just a few things we're doing to try to move the needle in the right direction. But our work, like your work, is far from being done. As we implement our plan, we continue to evaluate our work, examine its impact, all to determine our next steps. Dr. King once said, faith is taking the first step, even when you cannot see the entire staircase. We cannot see the entire staircase. We cannot see the entire staircase on this climb to create an institution where diversity and inclusion is woven into the fabric of our existence. But we are willing to take a step of faith and continue to examine who we are. We are willing to take a step of faith that will require us to continue to develop and implement plans that we believe will establish a new truth about whom we are. We are willing to take a step of faith and be bold enough to measure our success and, yes, even our failures. So like Esther, we can change the course of history. We can change our current truth. We can change the lives of our students, faculty, staff, community members, alumni, and in doing so, maybe even change the world. Thank you.
Did you hear a game plan? Do not drop this on your foot.
All right.
Should help me with this. Marla Bradford is one of our members of our working group. Can you see that?
I know. I don't wear my, I didn't have my
All
glasses
right.
on.
Let
You
me do
didn't
it.
tell me.
It's hard to read, but it's a beautiful thing. Isn't that
Sure
nice?
is.
It's beautiful.
There. I know exactly where it's going to sit.
You got it? The Black Political Empowerment Project and Corporate Equity Inclusion Roundtable. CEIR Working Group salute Dr. Kathy Humphrey, Senior Vice Chancellor for Engagement and Chief of Staff, Chancellor's Office, University of Pittsburgh, for being the inspirational keynote speaker for the 5th Annual Corporate Equity Inclusion Roundtable Conference, presented Monday, June 19th, 2017. You want to have that tour?
Yes.
Marla Bradford from Duquesne.
Thank you.